get away with a whole lot, and the one under them get away with everything. What do you think happened there? I seen it in my own family. My mother left when my sisters and brothers older than me, they didn't get away with nothing. But like the one under them, we under them got away with a lot of stuff. They would get a beat for everything.
So are you comparing that to the spiritual children? If you got the same mother that didn't take less with the older one, that should be the same mother that won't take less for the younger one.
Yeah, but it don't happen like that.
No, it don't. Because the tolerance is probably, you know, a little bit more.
Why is that?
That I know.
At all, but look at what the older one didn't get away with nothing. He was right on there. But the ones up under them, they got away with that. Even church folks do that. I'm not saying these are worldly folks. I'm saying church folks. Go ahead. Jordan, what you say about that?
Well, in my opinion, as well as experience, is that, as our sister Kathy said, each child is different. The beginning, my son was the oldest, so that's a different, totally different upbringing, per se, than with girls. So now when the girls come along, which was Tandra, she may have gotten away with things that I may have gotten on Terrence based on the fact that he was the oldest. But the difference is that Tandra was a girl and Terrence was a boy. So now as our sister Kathy said, those are two different personalities, two different genders. And then as time, I go along with our sister Taylor here, as the time goes on, the generations changes. So therefore, not only can you not hit your children per se, you become in some aspects, you have to be careful how you approach them, because they can turn on you. Even as you say, some of the saints, the saints have children. So you got to be careful. Because we are saved does not change the generation, does not change how they may think going out, going to school, coming back in the house with a whole different aspect on mommy and daddy. So your outlook has to be spiritually growing and training up children so that you will train them rightfully but not scold them for everything. So that makes the difference of that first child. Maybe that parent scolded them for everything based on what they thought was wrong. But as they grew up, as that child grew up, that parent learned things. So you learn how to tolerate your children and how to let them, it's not really getting away with things, it's just the fact of knowing how to handle it. So when the time comes, you can approach that child and say, listen, this is how I do with mine. Now don't think mommy ain't see what you did, because I saw what you did. But at the time, it wasn't time for me to say anything. Now it's time for me to say, I don't want you to do that no more. I don't want to see you do that no more. That's all I can do. Now when they go out, they're going to pick up what they want to pick up. They're going to listen if they want to. They're going to do whatever they want to do. So that's my outlook and my thought on not really letting them get away with the stuff. I can only talk about my household, not letting each child of different ages and genders get away. It's just that I had to learn how to deal with that generation they was coming into.
I understand all what y'all are saying, but how does that tie in with rejoice and suffering?
Go ahead, Mom. Go ahead.
We're talking about rejoice and suffering, so how does all this tie in with rejoice and suffering?
Well, it says here, as you go into these things here, and you go through certain things, as you go through life. Now, Paul noticed in there, when they was in jail, when they had to go through suffering here, they got beaten in jail. They got, and went through things, but when they came out, they was told not to teach in Jesus' name, not to do this in Jesus' name.
I understand that. I'm just saying, in other words, the chastising of your child is rejoicing, is part of rejoicing and suffering.
Well, it still go through the same thing. So, I mean, if you, the Bible says if you live godly, you're going to go through persecution. So regardless how you live, you're still going to have to go through some persecution. So even in your persecution, there is joy. You're going to still have joy in serving God. There is rejoicing in serving God. It's not always persecution. You're going to go through persecution and you're going to have rejoicing. But that's not going to last forever. Neither one of them last forever. But the more you get down in the Lord and the more you trust in God, the more God becomes real to you. I don't care what kind of things you are. You're going through something and you're gonna have to put up with it for the whole life. It's like we said about children. See, when you first have children, you really don't know how to have those children. So it takes time, and you pray, and you doing what you know. But when the next ones come along, then you're more tolerant with them because you've got more understanding how to handle them now. I'm not saying God is like that, in order to make us the way He wants us to be. And we'll never be a saint of God unless you learn to go through some persecution.
Well, like God is a father to us, we ought to be disciplined to our children. The word says, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Right.
So I still believe that if you teach them at a certain age, you don't do that, you don't do that. So when they know they get a certain age, when you talk to them, you don't have to go crazy like they get on us.
Right.
You know what? Find the nearest thing and get you with it. But when you teach that to them when they're young, and you have to pop them one time, and sometimes you might have to. But you're not going crazy where they're going to go, and they know that your intention is right.
Right. That's right.
So they're not going to go, see if it was a child that never been touched and got away with everything, that's the one that's going to make the call. That's the one that's going to make the call. But the one that know that you love them, and the reason why you're doing that, because you explain to them, this is why you're getting this beat. This is why you're getting this chastisement. Because of what you did. You explain it to them, and they understand.
You see, when your child is 2 and 3 years old, they playing around, but they're looking in your face and know what they can get away with right then. But when you learn to spank them and tell them, no, you don't do that. And then as they grow up, the same thing they don't do. When we went to Sunday school, I knew if I was already taught that you better not be talking in church or playing around in church. So now if I got there with my friend and start talking, I better find out what my dad is there. Because if he finds me talking, I know what's going to happen when I get home. And so if you were taught at home, then when you get out, if you act up a little bit, you know what the consequence is going to be.
And this is the reason why that discipline has to be there.
Yeah.
Because if you spoil them too much, especially in this time era now, I feel sorry for the generation.
Right.
Because they don't know, they don't feel the consequences because everything is given to them.
Right.
Everything is okay. Oh, maybe this, that, and all. Until you get out there and bust up, wrong with the wrong crowd, all that, and that police is in your face, that's a whole different story.
The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he will not depart from.
Right.
So now when we came up, all of us, we got in a whole lot of things, but that stuff was in us, right?
Yes,
We
sir.
knew right from wrong.
Yeah.
So we had something in here to tell us we done gone too far, or we're almost at our limit.
But if you say, okay, that's all right. Okay, John, take the time out.
Right.
That's not gonna work.
Right.
That's why a lot of stuff is happening now. The kids don't feel like there's no repercussions when they do it. But now, I know if I get into this will happen. Because that's how I was taught.
Well, some parents don't think they don't discipline their children.
That's the problem.
I heard some kids say, oh, my mother ain't gonna do nothing.
Right. I love my children, but by the same token, I'll tell them if they do something wrong.
But see, you do that because you love them. Because you want to let them know there's consequences for everything that you do. And if you just let them go and do it, time out. I'm taking a remote from you, turn the TV off. Every now and then I'm not saying there's times where you can just say be a little lenient. But if you're always lenient, they think the world is lenient.
Right.
And trust me, this little whipping right now will save your life later.
Right.
It's going to save your life later. But if you allow them just to do anything, they won't know a little hardship of what's to come. They have to be prepared for what's to come. Right. And the world now is crazy. Crazier than, when we go, it was always, you had crazy stuff going on, but now you have to be more aware and prepared.
Now, look at children today. When they was coming up, when my kids were small, in the house there, they didn't have to pay rent and all of that. They would have to give something out to their job. But now, there were some that didn't want to give nothing. landlord, you got to go in and out. So what's going to happen? You got a family now, you got to pay your rent. So if you don't teach them that they have to pay rent, they got to do this, when they get older, they get by. They can't be on mom and dad forever. You run into their age all the time. There's a time you have to step up, cut you off.
That's a rude awakening.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's a rude awakening because you figure everything's old. If you always just getting and not earning, it's going to be a rude awakening. And you know what they do? When they get teenagers or whatever, they go and attach themselves to a female, live in her house,
Yeah.
and do the same
That's
thing.
right.
Don't contribute to that household, nothing. Hang out in the streets half the night, and it goes on and on and on. But the sad thing is that the women allow it.
Yeah. But we have to be able to suffer for Christ. See, that's the most important thing. Suffering for Christ. Going through persecution. Going through heartache. Some people don't want to go through nothing. If the tongue comes too loud, they're ready to backslide.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is actually suffering for Christ?
Huh?
What is actually suffering for Christ? For Christ.
She want to know what is the.
You know, and you witness to someone, I don't want to hear nothing about that Christ.
Right.
Who's talking about that Christ? You see them, they thinking all that, this, that. That's a form of suffering. Of what you do for Christ, and you're being criticized by it. That's how I look at it.
That's the
So when you're doing something for Christ, you're being criticized for doing it. That's the suffering. But now, if you're doing something and you brought on yourself, that's not suffering for Christ. And sometimes people get that mixed up and think that, oh, I'm suffering for Christ. No, you did something wrong, and you're being chastised now by Christ. You're being chastised. So there's a difference between suffering and some things you bring on yourself, and you're being chastised with.
Look at the apostles in that we were just reading in 541. They went to jail and suffered for Christ because they preached Christ. They lived Christ. So the people didn't want to hear them.
Right.
So this is when they were persecuted for Christ. Look how Paul was beaten, thrown in jail, and all of that for the sake of Christ. But if you don't want to go through that, you're not going to go through it because you're not going to say that race or nobody's better. You're not going to witness for Christ because you know if you do, people listen. We don't want to hear that, and you close up your book. You know, I better go somewhere else. When you go over there, they do the same thing. You say, well, I better find you.
It gives you boldness regardless.
Yeah, you will.
Because you can say, God bless you. You try to pass the check, no, I don't want that. Okay, you go to the next one. That don't bother me. You know what I'm saying? To where back then, you know, you did that, you probably got put around or something. So we going through more of
co-fighters could Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, they didn't have salvation like we have today. But look.
The third page.
They knew God. But now, they
Third
had been
paragraph.
taught
Third page.
from their youth. And when they were taught from their youth, that's what why you and I believe that's why you take the most of these Muslims and then the Muslims will go and kill people and think that they're going to heaven. That they want to jump in fire and kill themselves, all like that, because they were trained up in children.
Well, to be fair, Muslim saints don't believe in that. It's another division. Yeah, the Muslim, that's not fair to say. The regular Muslim faith, the true Muslim faith, they don't believe in all that suicide, mass killing and stuff. That's another part of radicals.
That's Islam.
Jihadists. That do that.
That's right.
Them, the one
Different.
that's taking over the Taliban. And all that's taking over there like that. So, just to be fair, all Muslims, the Muslim faith don't do that.
Okay. All right, anything else in here? Said when sinners persecute us, they're really persecuting God. But we don't look at it like that when we start going through persecution, do we? We take it. Yeah, we live.
You know, firstly, if you've been kind and love, they come overcome evil with good. That persecute or whatever the case may be, keep persecuting. You know, that's about what the scripture said when David was describing that if it was somebody outside, strangers,
name of Christ. That's all it takes for you to name the name of Christ. And you're going to go through suffering. If you witness, if you hand out a tract, or whatever you do, you are going through, you're going to have persecution.
That just authenticates who you are in Christ.
Yeah.
Right? This just lets you know who you are.
That's right. Because why would you want to be a saint of God? Say God is your father, Jesus is your brother, and you don't want to uphold him. As the word says, he'll never leave you and he'll never forsake you. But by the same token, we have to stand up for him.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. We have to learn how to put up with that. We have to learn how to go through. It's not easy all the time. Even when we turn down our pray, the fast and pray, it's not easy to thing all the time. But we have to go through with it. And look like every time we make up our mind that we're going to fast and pray, we have a headache. Otherwise, you don't have a headache. Anything else? What do you say about that, understanding?
Well, temptation is a part of the Christian life. It is a part. It is an inescapable experience that each Christian will have. And if we are let alone and free of all attacks from the enemy, it may lead us to become complacent. We can become complacent and lose that fervor for God, because when you become at ease with no challenge, you tend to become quiet. So I think that persecution arouses the God in us. It puts more, should I say, fighting spirit. Once we know that we are doing it for Christ's sake, and it is backed up on the fact that we will be rewarded. So these are motivational things, that should keep us from giving.
But here's a man now. Now, listen to this. Here's a man that don't fear God, and don't serve God, don't fear God, and don't do anything, and he's going through persecution. There's another that's trapping on with all this. They're going through persecution.
Right, not the same.
Everybody gets persecuted. So we're being persecuted for specific.
So what is he getting persecuted for?
He's getting persecuted for whatever he's being charged with. I mean, whatever he's being criticized and persecuted. Everybody gets persecuted, criticized, judged. But they're specific why we're being persecuted.
And then there are different levels of persecution. Some might have to face death. Some might face heckling, losing of the jobs, cast out of the homes because
All right, let's go one down. Yeah.
Our suffering is growing in the future. Suffering and glory are twin truths that are woven into the fabric of human life. The world believes that our suffering
live for Christ. You're gonna suffer. So it's just like you're saying, if you work for a company, you're gonna stand out because you work for that company. And it's just like you say, I'm a Christian. You're gonna stand out. Now, if you don't want to stand out or wear the uniform, don't put on nothing that's gonna cause you to think, let the people think that you're a Christian, or nothing like that. But you want to be spotted some kind of way. You're not just gonna get away saying, well, I don't want nobody to know that I'm a church man. I go to church. I'm not gonna say nothing. Yeah, there's still sign.
That's gonna give you away.
Yes. But I don't believe a really sincere, saved person can go through and don't ever say something. Or somebody's going to step on your feet and do something that cause you to defend Jesus. And I'm sure you're going to say something in behalf of him. You look at the way the pandemic is going and the uprising of Satan and everything, the whole world being shut down, and you say, where's God at? Is he in the midst of it? Does God know about this? Are he allowing this to happen? Yeah. Oh, no, God trying to get our attention. What have you done all the time? If another wave of pandemic came over and the whole world had to be shut down again, do you think that would help the people and cause them to look for God more?
Maybe
No.
some.
The first time,
Maybe some.
the first time, but some people, it didn't phase them or it didn't make them do any better. So that was the second time. No.
The word has to fulfill itself. It's not gonna get any better. As much as we continue to pray that God has grace upon the land, it's not gonna get any better. We're living in the time now that things are gonna get worse. So even you bring all that kind of stuff, but things are just supposed to be what it is. We just pray that God brings some of those people to answer the call. That some people will get saved, but as far as the world gets shut down again, and everybody wants to run the church,
No, everybody running.
I remember when I was a boy, 7, 8 years old, we were young. When men went to the army during World War I, they used to keep the church door open. And the husband, the wives, and mothers would go in the church and pray for their husband and sons and things. And they would never close the church out. But after a while, that used to stop. So when it's said, people will get like we're saying, routine like that, always there.
That's why I think that us being saved people, I think that God does, well, I'm not going to use the word think. Everything that God does, he does for a reason. And everything, even within this pandemic, God is allowing these things to happen to call those people, as our brother Taylor said, that is going to come in. And that's why I feel and think that we as Christians, in reference to what you're saying about the church being open, the church doors should stay open. because you don't know who is going to be running in from the pandemic. You don't know who God may touch walking by Pickens Avenue and happen to be under influence and wow, here go a church, let me go in, and can't get in. I'm just using that as an example, because everything that God does, he does for a reason, and that's why we are put in certain situations, in certain places in the world, so that we can reach certain people. But if we're not doing our job the way that God has planned it from the beginning, as we're reading here, all the different ways that God came within the suffering. This is a form of suffering, the pandemic. But God is able to bring us through, and not only us, he's able to bring souls in as well, if that's how we're looking at it. If we're looking at it as a closed door, oh, let me go in my house. I'm not telling you not to do what government say does, but still in all, we ought to still, got to keep going back to Brother Taylor, if we deny him down here, he's going to deny us.
So when you say you need the church to go and open, what do you mean to say? No, there's a difference between what he was saying, Bishop was saying about how the church used to stay open for prayer. So we saying stay open for this service and stay open throughout the week. Like a third time throughout the week, the doors should be open.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think and this is my opinion, I ain't telling nobody, I ain't here to start no argument. I think the doors should be open every single day, and someone should be assigned each day to be here. Now, during Pacific times, it'd be nice if it could stay open 24/7, you know what I'm saying? But, of course, that's a job. But as far, even if it's not every day, Pacific days, on days, not just Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. This is the house of God, and this is where souls are to come in and get rescued. So if we, and it's not even all about a whole block full of church, that they do what they do. We got our job. We are assigned, as we have heard, we have assignments. And we need to perform those assignments. And maybe the assignment, I'm just going to say hypothetically, maybe the assignment for Brother John is to be here Monday and Tuesday, and for Sister Sue is Thursday and Friday, however it may be. The fact still remains that God wants us to do our job. And our job is to preach the gospel to every preacher and to bring them in. If they don't listen, it's like you say, you out there giving the track, no, I don't want it, it's okay. It doesn't interfere with my corner right here. It doesn't interfere with me standing in front of my church. Go down the block, give a track, they don't want it, that's all right. Just like it's 365 days in a year, I don't know how many streets is around here, but it's just not Pickens and Elton. And I think back in the earlier churches, this is what was going on. These people was out there. It didn't matter what was happening. Go ahead. And you?
When you take a lot of churches that you said are closed, closed down, you use now the conference line and you use the Zoom. Now, this is what the people now have got soccer lights with the Zoom and the conference line. They not worried about going back to church,
But then we got to remember the people
that don't even know how to use them. There's a lot of people out there don't even know how to use them. And so that's why the churches should still build.
And-
Because it says within faith. We're supposed to have faith no matter what the situation.
We don't have dedicated, we don't have enough dedicated people. Now, I realize that the churches don't have enough dedicated people.
All you need is one.
Huh?
All you need is one faithful person,
Right.
and I'm sure it's going to catch fire to the next one. The next one. All you need is one to sit out there and say, this is what it's all right, go ahead, you do it. Somebody else, I really feel that somebody else will follow, somebody else will join in.
You gotta speak life. You understand? That's what helps you.
Yeah.
You speak life into it. You can't be like, okay, well, it's all right for you to come in. And then you look at what they were and how they were. So where you make it, that makes them one thing. Remember, God said He would forgive you for it. So when people come to you, you got to forgive them the same way as they come to you, because they come to you. And so it's a lot too, just opening the door. You gotta look like you said you will. But you gotta have that heart that's willing to accept everything that's coming.
That's
Because if
true.
you ain't got that heart,
That's
then
true.
it's gonna need to have you.
Yeah, they ain't gonna come. That's a good point.
It's a two-way street
That's a
all
good
the way
point.
around.
That's a good
You
point.
see, you got God going this way. He got to come this way. God got the unsaved out there. When their minds are being stirred, just like the ones that are saved out there with their minds stirred, trying to bring them in. And so, the ones that are praying, churches that are praying, we continue to pray that God will stir the minds of the people to come into the faith.
Well, you know what? There, as you said, the Zoom. I'm just gonna throw out there the example. What's the man? I think the Jakes man, T.G. Jakes. His daughter is now, and I think does a lot of speaking in his church. And the thing is that right, Sarah? The thing is that she goes into this church and the people is there in that church, but she also has the Zoom or however it is, where people can also come into the Zoom. So what am I saying? Even though we need a setup. To be honest, we need a setup where we can have the Zoom where it can be shown in the church as well. So you can have people within your audience, and you can have people from all over, wherever, on the Zoom as well. So that way they're still hearing the word, they're still being preached to, however it is, prayed to, however. But the whole point is to have an open door for someone out there that can come too. Because you never know, maybe somebody from Florida flies into Brooklyn and say, wait a minute, there's a Zoom church on Pickens Avenue. Let me see if that church open and let me go on over there and have service with them, whether they save or unsaved. You know, I notice, I look at these things on the internet, not the internet, the YouTube. I look at these things and I see how people take this pandemic and they're using it for their advantage. So that they're still, baby, regardless of how they're reaching them, regardless of whether they're saved, unsaved, speaking in tongues, however it may be, the fact still remains is that they're reaching people. They're reaching people, and we as saved, Holy Ghost filled people need to be reaching people too. Whatever it takes, however it takes, whatever we need to help build the kingdom of God, that's what we need to do. Exactly. True.
It's a very useful and relevant discussion. Because we are still in the pandemic. And from reports, it seems to be ticking.
Yeah, going up, right?
During the pandemic, I noticed a church next to us, Crossover, Greenwood. They brought the public address system. Well, put it this way, the believers were in front of the church. and the pastor was preaching from
Inside the church.
inside
Okay.
the church.
Yeah.
So I share with you also that while the Zoom is useful, it seems as if it targeted more the Christians to sustain us, which is good. To have the Bible study in the Zoom and the conference line, very, very good. But I think when Jesus gave the Great Command, Great Commission, you know, that won't go comes on strong. So what I'm saying, I know in this pandemic it's difficult to congregate actually. But I think this discussion tonight is very timely. That maybe it's a good time for this church to consider what other things, whether smaller, we can do besides the Zoom, as to make sure that the sinner is still hearing the gospel in one form or another. I love the discussion, and my point I'm making is that it is a good time for us to reflect on what is the thing we can do other than the Zoom. That when people pass by, as some well, all that is a good
Outside service.
right.
Right outside. And preach right outside.
Right. That's true.
So otherwise you're saying, when all that is going on, with the pandemic and everything, if we would just get out in the street, leave the church tonight, get out in the street and start preaching Christ, we can win people.
We do like the
That's right.
everything is there.
Okay.
So have 2 each shift and have them out there. And whoever come by, might have a time, need prayer, or whatever the case may be. If somebody gonna come by something, hey, have somebody pass up the prayer. Other faiths are doing it. Other churches are doing it.
Yeah, 'cause I know that church up there, when I be coming by, they have, as she was saying, they have a speaker on the outside, and you can hear their service out on the outside. They got their speaker set up. Yep, set right up. And when the pandemic was going on, they had like a tent where they were sitting on the outside Had they didn't even see what they did. They didn't bring the service inside at first. They had it on the outside. So they had everything set up, and people will come and sit on the outside, whether it was they members or whatever. Now that they inside, they speaker on the outside. I'm sure they got some inside as well. But my point is that the preacher that's preaching, you can hear the word passing by. You can hear the word, and that is my thought as well, has always been my thought. When we set up, we should set up where the world can hear us. You know, and it's not, I've heard someone say, oh, we got to get permission and all of that. Listen. As he said, the commission, that's our permission. We have been commissioned to do something. And I'm sure that just like I have had in my thoughts of going there, I've already got the information in reference. I don't know whether it can be done now during the pandemic, but that's something I'll look on to, of being able to close down this street where we'll be able to have whatever we want to have. Service, whatever it may be that we want to have. Give out tracts, and in the process of it, whatever. Because it's all about the soul getting. It's all about it.
I remember.
Do you need to cut down the street down to do that?
Well, at the time that I was going to do it, it was going to be a service. And it was going to be like sponsors that will be sponsoring certain things. And we was going to be able to get certain things from different sponsors, like, for instance, Pepsi and etc. And closing it down, it would be like, I don't know whether you would call it like a carnival or something like that, but in that kind of form. But in the process of all that going on, we was going to have a service. There was going to be a service in the midst of all that. Yeah, people could go around doing, we have people on the four corners giving the water out, the tracts out, whatever the case may be. But we having a service as well. That was the goal. All of that was, the sponsors was to be able to get the street closed down.
Bishop, I had an experience with that. I want to share an experience in relation to this. One Sunday morning I was home. Pandemic was raging. But my soul was crying out so much. I can't go to church. I said, wait, so my wife and I were speaking. I said, wait, is this slavery? We are handcuffed. We are arrested. You know, in my... So, I heard this song outside. And I said, Sharon, they are having service. I'm going. I'm not trying to contrast a sinner who in this pandemic wants to give their life to the Lord, or is convicted or somehow there. But if everything shut down with him. So I rushed out and I went and stood there. The people saying, they gave me a chat, spoke to me, and I listened to the service. Why I say that is that, you know, I just couldn't take it looked like a defeat to me. You know, like the church is under house arrest. We can't meet, we can't do, but at the same time, we have a couple people, as Sister was saying, blocking our street for secular activities. I saw some. But the point I'm making, I mean, everything comes from wisdom and good planning. But I'm saying that to say this. It could have been an unsaved person who is contemplating suicide, who becomes hopeless, and was desperately in need for somebody to give him a word of hope. That is the state I was in a different way. I got so tired being home. I just can't meet God's people. I just can't get a word. Although I read my Bible every day, my soul wasn't satisfied. And I will say this, that if there should be a situation where the government advises churches to be closed, let us, by God's grace, while we obey the laws of the land, try to see if we can carve out something still. Though small it may be, something within the framework of the law that we can still reach, share the gospel as a church. because it doesn't really looking good for me to tell me so many churches are just closed, and business going on as usual. The stores are opening. You get what I'm saying, Bishop? You know, I feel defeated in my spirit that, boy, this is an onslaught on the top by the enemy of the church. We can't even meet. I felt so defeated.
A lot of churches, they didn't go inside, but they would park outside and sit in their car and still have meetings. The preacher would still preach. Look at the restaurants today. They made provisions for their people outside. If you can't come inside, you can eat on the outside. We have the tricks out there now. You can eat outside. So, but we as unsaved, as saved people in the church, we close our church and refuse to open.
Even the people who come for the pantry, they come.
They do.
That might be something to consider.
And I was thinking when you were saying that, like having an outside speaker. These people on Monday or Tuesday come out for the pantry. They should be, and I mean a lot of people argue.
Oh, yes.
But who would they, to come out and preach the word to them, or to hand out tracts to tell them that Jesus is coming?
Yeah, even the pandemic, not to talk too much, but insurance people gather there.
Yeah.
Insurance people come there. Approach me already for insurance. My wife was here 2 weeks ago. She said, Lennox, there's a lady who came by and was offering me. It's insurance, it's some sort of thing. So what I'm saying, we
the only one ain't
we
going
who are empowered by the Holy Spirit have manifested, because they are still coming to sell their policy and to tell you, from time to time they come right there. I said, boy, look at that, these people ain't giving up. They are coming to sell their policy with the mask on, and we the church, we seem to be locked in from the people.
Still had their business open.
Yeah. They still go to prayer. When you walk over there, you can see them going out there. Oh, they close on the shop.
On my way to.
We didn't do it.
Yeah.
We closed up and
That is true. A lot of churches are not going to come back in. A lot of churches, small churches in this country,
yes.
some are going to close forever. I know one or two already. It's sad. It's sad. It's not good news for us.
A lot of the big churches closed up too.
Precisely.
See, this is why. That's why I say God does everything for a reason.
Yeah.
Precisely.
He knows who's going to stand up for him.
Yeah.
So if we, and when I say we, I mean in general, not individually. We as people got to know where we stand in God. So when these things come, we're talking about suffering. When these things come upon us, we can go through it. We can still stand, regardless of what is closing, regardless of who's not preaching, regardless of who's not living, we still can stand. And when we go to God, God can tell us what to do and how to do things. So that souls, because see, he got the souls. He got the souls he want to send in. Are we ready for them? We go to him and we go to him, we fast and pray, Lord, what you want us to do, he'll tell us what to do. And when he tell us to do, we got to be prepared to do it. We can't go about it doing it our way. He give us, you got a pantry here? He gave you the people. He gave you the people. Now you just got to bring them in. Got to fish them out there. Throw that net out there. Wind them up.
That is how I started to come. I came here and I was invited, to the pantry. So it's a good tool where we can tailor something to
I see them people. I go back again. They have Grammys and what else? Oscars and all of that.
Yeah.
They have, when I see it, they have this big old screen where everybody may be in their home, but they still having that Oscar. They still giving that award. And then they have, I know one of them I saw, I think it was a gospel one, where they had the choir on the Zoom and the leader was inside the auditorium. And the director and whoever the host was, they was there. And this was when pandemic was you got to be in your house. But everything was still going on. Still going on. Huh? Yes. Joel Osteen, all that. And when you see their audience, they got it 6 feet. Look like 12 feet apart. Cause look like I see somebody over there and somebody over there. But the people is inside they church. It's all about doing it. It can be done.
Well, it can be done, but you need dedicated, willing workers.
Willing workers.
Willing workers, that's what you do. And when you have willing workers, and these things can go on.
And I'm a worker.
And there are
I'm
souls
willing.
all over.
That's right. All over. All over.
And we have the good, we have the light, we have the what? We have the good.
I know in my neighborhood, I'm just waiting. There's a park across the street from where I live. And they go in that park and they have their parties and they have their this and they have their that. And I already said, Lord, I want you to work it out. I'm ready for the outreach already. I'm all ready. Because see, in my neighborhood, I mean, there's sinners everywhere. But your light got to shine. So therefore, that's all I'm doing is just shining. I don't say too much. But everybody know where I stand in the Lord without me even opening up my mouth. So I already got a Spanish preacher, not to preach per se, but to interpret. If it comes down for interpretation, there is churches lined up right on the same side as my building. That is one of them is, and then you also got I believe it's an African church there as well. So the people are there. You see what I'm saying? It's just all about getting it going on in the park. I already spoke to being that I worked for the parks before, I know the kind of procedures of how it works if you want to permit. But I saw the park supervisor that works there, and I asked him about it, and he said, sure. I was telling him about food. Can I bring food or whatever? He said the park is not made to eat inside, but you can do whatever cooking or whatever on the perimeter of the park. And that's what they do. They inside the park. I guess they probably in there barbecue. I don't know, but I'm not gonna be disobedient. But they always having something in that park. Always. Got you. Okay. All right. Right. Okay. For a permit, right? Got you. You right. I said it's not that. So it's all about. And Bishop, you talking about willing workers. I'm a worker. I can't speak for nobody else. I'm willing. All we gotta, y'all being leaders, y'all gotta just put it. I guess give the permission. I'll put it in effect, or however you want to do it, or assign the people, whatever. And that's why I say all it takes is one. Not to say I'm the only one, but I'm just saying in general, all it takes is one, and everybody on one accord, we can get it going. It's all about souls. I mean, you sit back and see these souls. All right.
Beautiful. I enjoyed the lesson.
Yeah.
Okay. I realize that we are going to willing to go through that. You got to be willing to put up yourself. And if you're not willing to do it, no. To win souls, you have to be willing to win souls. Otherwise, you will never win anybody. You got to be able to be willing to win souls. And when you're willing to win souls, God said you're not directed by yourself. God directs us. And we allow Him to direct us. Thank you, Lord God. So we need to wait. In order to implement these things, have these things go on, we have to have people willing to do it. Even James and John, them, when they went out into different areas, they were led by God to do it, but they went on. There wasn't two of them, and one of them. They did what they had to do. Let's keep praying about it, keep asking God to open a door, a way for us, and we can get some things done.
Well, what exactly does that mean? What are you saying? Open up. Maybe I better leave. I'm going to leave that alone.
That God will open the door for us that we can start moving in that direction. Not just coming in talking, but getting us to doing what we say.
Well, Bishop, I really, how can I explain it? I really think that if you have someone that wants to do it or willing to do it, then there you go, you got it.
Yeah.
Put the plan into play and go on. I mean, the okay has to come from, I guess, you and Pastor Glover, of course. I mean, we can't sit back waiting for people, because if we sit back waiting, it'll never get done. Because nobody is never, I mean, we sitting here talking, and you still ain't hearing nobody saying, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So if you sit back waiting for people, that's why Peter, James, and John got things done. Because they was all on one accord and wanted to do it, and they went and did it. And when they went and did it, God blessed them and gave them more people. So, waiting, look where we are. We ain't moved yet. Because we've been sitting down waiting.
You can set a table just like you set up for the bird and stuff. You can set up off there in the morning or whenever it starts. Maybe not at the beginning when the session starts, before it's over. Assign somebody to go out there and give work.
Wait, what they said, they over there talking. Say what y'all gonna say. On the outside, that's what I was told.
Well, you see, we have to, let's say, on the stoop up there, and we could use that as a platform for speaking.
Okay.
And we have nothing to do with the people out here. We're just preaching the word.
So wait a minute, let me make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying that in front of the church, all the perimeter of the church, we can't touch it because the pantry?
Yeah, we can witness to people. We can preach the word.
Okay.
But now we can't be a part of giving them food and giving them Christ.
They give it to them on the outside? No.
What it is, the pantry, right, is just supposed to be a place where people come to help.
Okay.
That's all the pantry is supposed to be.
Right.
Even though it's in the church, you're not supposed to give track.
Okay.
That's like saying, like you said, a track.
Okay.
Right, so.
No, it's because y'all signed that. It's not against the law. It's because you signed. Because this is a church. No, I'm just listening.
So
Go ahead.
they're not supposed to.
Ain't against no
They're
law.
supposed to come and get food. But
Right,
After the after they finish with the pantry,
right, right.
you still can have that service. You understand? So when
Mhm.
people
I got what you're saying.
oh well, you
I understand.
can say, well, listen, after everybody come get this food, we're gonna have something in the afternoon. Maybe y'all would like to come back after something.
So during the hours, you're saying, during the hours of the pantry, all of this cannot be taking place. So then how y'all got prayer at 12 o'clock?
Yeah, I
Because that's separate. The pantry is downstairs. And
Okay.
somebody's speaking just to the public.
Right, right. I
You're
got
speaking to
you.
the public. That has nothing to do with the pantry.
Right,
It's just, the only difference is it's being done at the same time.
right. That's what I'm trying to understand. Does it have to do with the hours?
Or you're not allowed to do any public
Right. That's what I'm.
while the
That's
pantry is going on.
that's what I'm
That's
trying to
the difference.
understand. That's what I'm trying to
It's
understand.
not, we are not down there to hand out tracts to the people that come to the house.
Okay.
And talking to them about the word of God. But now up here is altogether different.
But can you do it at the same
Time.
hours
Well, I don't see where it makes a difference. And with
where
that,
it won't get in trouble?
I don't think so.
You know, you can't say what ain't right. But you don't know what's gonna happen.
And you could set it up. How far? What's the hours of the pantry?
From down to 11.
So 11:01, we could be moving. We can be doing what we doing. As they coming out, they no longer part of the pantry. Now they belong to the Lord. I just had to throw that in there. But 11:05, I just put the one there as a scenario. But you know, we can start it. Whatever we're gonna do, whatever you set up to do, it can be. It's no problem. You know, as far as giving out the tracts, you give out the tracts during that time. Just you said not to give to them because you could still be on the corner or something, right? Or you just want to be safe and don't mess with them at all during the hour. I mean, find out. Let us know. I mean, let us know what. Because I'm looking at it because, and I could be wrong, but I have been to other pantries where different things has been going on besides the pantry. I think it's all about the contract and what was put in the contract and what was accepted. That's what I'm thinking. Now I could be wrong. I've been homeless before. I've been in pantries before. So I'm just speaking from that sort of knowledge. But I don't know what's going on here. But I think it's all about that contract and what's being said and what is being accepted. If it's just a pantry, then I understand that. Just a pantry, that's it. Won't mess with them. But once 11:01 come on down, that's God's time. I mean, all time is God's time. But I'm just saying in general. And that's why I say each day should be used. If it's Tuesdays, what is it? It's 2 days for pantry or one? One. Well, we got 4 more days to use.
May I just say a little thought on it? Apparently, there seems to be consensus. And it seems to be that we all have that vision, that desire to do something. And that is the first step. We all have that vision. There are some logistical things, there are some things in the city, in the country. So then we have to make sure that we are ironing out everything properly before we do it. So take a little time.
Right.
That we iron out things, we pray about things, and we put on paper
Yeah.
what actually we're going to do, what time, what is the goal there, what are we aiming at, what do we want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be a strategic
Yeah.
well thought out, prayerful thing so that it is sustainable. One of the things that you have to look for is sustainability. We don't want just a one-off and it dies.
Right,
You know,
sure.
so it takes a little time for bishop and the pastor and the members
Yeah.
to the leaders of the church to iron things out. So we are not thinking about next week Tuesday.
Right.
But neither are we thinking about 2023. We're not thinking that far. But let us go slowly but surely, doing the correct thing within the framework of the city and with the framework of the contract that's going on.
Well, we can't let it die here, though.
Right.
Don't let it die here. Now, we saying all of this, and it's dead as soon as we walk out the door. No, we can't let, just like you said, whatever needs to be done, whatever, of course we praying. I've been praying.
Yeah.
So, I've been already doing that already. So, to get it in a perspective, just like I say, y'all the leaders, so y'all the ones that has to get all that tape that has to, whatever needs to be done and what's not to be done, get the understanding, you know, so that in the future, but not so far in the future, we can, as you said, we can move forward with this, but don't let it die here. I've been in this church long enough to know we can't let it die here, because it'll stop here and it won't go no further. This will happen, oh, well, that'll happen, and the next thing, no, let's keep it going.
Yeah, once the vision is there.
Yeah,
passion is
let's
there
move
for it.
this vision onward.